Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing the rest of the Revde Camellia makeup collection that recently launched by Chanel. So I picked up these pieces from my local beauty boutique, but they are now available on Chanel.com, including the Camellia Highlighter, which is part of this collection. I did an in-depth review last week. I will make sure I link it down below just in case you're curious. But I will show you the Camellia Highlighter again today because I picked up a second one. And unfortunately, I think the boutique is now sold out of these, but I couldn't resist. I think the pattern on top is so beautiful, so I picked up one just as a collector's item, and then I have my original Camellia highlighter that I can use. Let me show you what else I picked out from the collection. I'm going to unbox everything and of course demonstrate because as you can see, I still need to finish my makeup for the day. So of course I picked up the eyeshadow palette. This is 384 Imaginaire. I was so happy to see that they went a different direction with the LeBlanc makeup collection this year. Instead of doing the traditional pinks and purples, it's a warmer toned palette. So I think this is going to be really pretty for spring, summer. Peachy tones instead of the pinks and purples that we usually see. I picked up both of these Stilos. This is the Stilo Lumiere Regard Top Coat Illuminator Multi-Usage, or the Multi-Use Highlighting Top Coat. Excuse me, I should have read the English version. This is 567 Scintillement, and this is 557 Eclat. So when I was in store, they kind of explained these to me. They said they're basically just little highlighting pens. So you can use them on the eyes. You can use them as an eyeshadow base. You can also use them on the face, the lips. They're multi-use. The body, if you wanted to. They're like little spot highlighters, like little touche clot pens. Out of everything, I think I'm most excited to play around with these because it's such a unique product. And I can't really remember Chanel ever having something similar. Now, the little pen itself is very similar to the old eyeshadow base. If you remember, there were two eyeshadow bases. One was matte, and then the other one did have a little bit of a sheen to it. So I guess one of these is kind of similar to that. We'll see. We'll experiment. I also picked up one of the 3 nail polishes. All 3 colors are beautiful. The nude is also really gorgeous. I have so many nude nail polishes, so I skipped the nude. The peach is really pretty. And then I picked up 921 Evanescence, and I needed to redo my manicure anyway, so I already have it on my nails. This is 2 coats of the pink nail polish. 921. And then against my better judgment, I picked up 2 lipsticks because I am on a very, very low buy for lipsticks this year. And there were several re-promotes as part of this collection, so not new colors. I didn't even bother swatching them all on my arm. I did get a little video of the display when I was in store earlier today, so I will pop up some videos so you can see everything. A lot of reds, and then a deeper berry color, which they're very beautiful shades. I don't think they are the best match for this collection, and I just know that these are not the kinds of colors that I'm going to be wearing a lot for spring, summer. So I did pick up the Rouge Cocoa Flash. This is the Hydrating Vibrant Shine Lip Color in 168 Halo. This is such a beautiful, slightly iridescent balm. It does not go on incredibly pink. It doesn't have a lot of pigment to it, but that's okay. I knew that before I purchased. It's just very pretty. It really doesn't have much color. It basically adds a little shine and a slight sheen to the lips. And I wanted at least one lipstick with color. That way I could share the complete 2022 Revde Camellia makeup look. So I went with the Rouge Allure Ink. I really like this formula, and I have a higher chance of going through this versus the tube. This is shade 232 Posy. There's a deeper kind of berry red shade, and then this really pretty light peach. I think this is the best color for this makeup collection. I just quickly pulled up Chanel.com to make sure I didn't miss anything. The only thing I didn't purchase were the deeper red lipsticks and the 2 nail polishes, but everything else I have here to share. So I want to begin by swatching everything because that usually helps get the creative juices flowing for whenever I do my demonstration. So I'm going to begin with the eyeshadow palette. This is what it looks like. And you can see instead of the little dome eyeshadow pans, they're completely flat. So this is a slightly different texture. I believe these are going to go on pretty sheer. That's generally the case with the LeBlanc makeup look. This is a very French girl style, light, effortless, easy everyday makeup style. These palettes are never meant to be bold, dramatic, really creamy and heavily pigmented. That's just not the makeup look for this collection ever. So I imagine that will be the case here. I was surprised to see not only the colors, but this sparkly shade right here. I think this could be really beautiful on the lid. I'm going to begin up here in the corner in this sparkly shade. It feels interesting. It feels sort of dry. But my finger's picking up a lot of pigment. Yeah, but then it goes on pretty light. You can see there's a hint of peach in there and just a little sparkle. Next, I'm going down here in this really pretty peachy color. That looks nice. Initial swatch, it's very soft and matte. A lot of times these eyeshadows have a little bit of a sheen to them. Let me build up the color. You can build it up. It's actually pretty good. I think that's going to be a nice transition shade. Next, I'm going to go in this deep chocolatey brown. This also looks matte. And this does have a lot of pigment in it. It feels pretty buttery as well. That's not bad. Last but not least, I'm going into this really pretty cream shade. This would also be a nice transition shade or lid color. Whether you like these swatches or not, like these colors or not, at the end of the day, it is still a neutral eyeshadow palette, so I'm not sure this is really going to add something new and exciting to your makeup collection. I broke my own low-buy rule for the year. But I do think because it leans a little bit warm and peachy, it's very pretty. The color story is gorgeous, and these are very wearable tones. And they feel very promising, so I'm excited to play around with it. Now let's see what is the deal with these Stilo Lumiere Regard Multi-Use Highlighting Top Coat Sticks. First, I'm going to swatch 557. So you open it up, and it has just a little brush at the end. You just have to twist the bottom until you start to feel a little tension, and that will tell you that the product is starting to make its way up the tube. I was afraid it was going to start shooting out at me, but no. There we go. Okay. It looks very sheer, but it's beautiful. It just leaves a light, slightly iridescent sheen. Very pretty. You know, I already did my face makeup, but I was thinking, I wonder how this would look mixed into your concealer. It's one of my favorite glowy makeup hacks to mix a little liquid illuminator into your concealer. Even when you set with powder, as your makeup sets for the day, you get just a little bit more of a gorgeous glow underneath the eye, so it doesn't look really dry and dusty. I think that might be a fun trick to use these pens. This is 567. Do you guys remember the eye bases? They've been gone for a while. I think basically the only difference was, I think the brush was white. Oh, here we go. Looks very similar. I think this one has maybe a, does it have a little bit more sparkle? They look so similar. Maybe I have to give it a minute to let it dry down to see the finish. And it does dry. So it no longer feels tacky or sticky. It's not like a Balm Essential or a cream highlighter. This has dried down on the skin. So I wonder what that would be like on the face, if that would work. I think it could, potentially. 57 and 67. 557, 567. I don't see a huge difference between the two. I think this 67 is a little bit more gold, and the 57 is maybe a little bit more pink. And I think this one has a little bit more of maybe like a, I don't want to say micro glitter because it's not glitter, but it has a little bit more of a sparkle to the sheen. Whereas the first one, you can barely see it. It just has a little bit of a glow, but there's not really sparkles in it. So the 557 is going to be your subtle version, and then the 67 kind of takes it up a notch and has a little bit more of a sparkle. I scooted in a little closer for the demonstration. I pulled out a Revde 16 brush, and I'm going to begin by going into this really pretty cream shadow. And I'm going to begin by buffing this in the crease as my transition shade. So you can see it is very light. Not getting a ton of color. I really didn't expect to get much. Still think it's a nice transition shade, and it would be a nice eyeshadow to use to blend out the crease. And it would also make a really pretty lid shade. Maybe it would show up a lot more on somebody who's really fair, but that's basically disappearing into my skin. So I'm going to go into this shade now. Let's go into that peach and see if it shows up on the eye. There we go. That's a little bit better. It's still soft, but it's intended to be, and that's okay. It almost looks neon. It's a very bright peach. It's kind of like a pastel looking peach on me. That I did not expect. We're going for a soft eye look, but I am going to pick up a Revde 13 brush, and I am going to dip into this deeper shade and add just a little depth and dimension in the outer V. I don't have any doubts about this shadow. I think this is going to be really easy to blend, and it's definitely going to show up. Yeah, that's pretty. I don't want to risk getting a lot of fallout on my cheeks, so I'm going to keep this really light. I'm going back with my original brush, and I'm just going to blend around the edges. I have a feeling this is going to be one of those really perfect everyday palettes. Like something that you just grab and go, like that could be your eye look, and then you're done. Or maybe you go on the lid with a little bit of that cream shade and you're done. And I like it. I'm finding this a lot easier to use than some of the neutral palettes that came out last year. I think these tones, they just kind of go a little bit better together. It's very cafe au lait. No fallout whatsoever on my cheeks using that deeper eyeshadow. I knew this was going to be good because it feels really smooth. So I knew it wasn't going to be chalky or dusty and, flake all over the place. And it's very easy to blend. So I'm really impressed with how these eyeshadows work together so far. Next, I'm taking the Stilo Lumiere Regard in 567. This is the sparkly version. Slightly more sparkly. And I am going to pop this on the eyelid. See what happens. My plan is to use this as a base for this. And we'll pop a little bit of that on top. I'm going to do one eye at a time. Since it's my first time using it, I feel like that would be the smart thing to do. I don't like it. Let me apply a little bit more. It's such a funny thing because it almost feels like a gel. But because it's a gel, it spreads really far. It's not really opaque, and it just kind of melts everything underneath. I primed my eyelids with concealer the way I usually do, and it's just eating the concealer. Like now I can see my skin underneath. Which maybe it's best to be used on your eyes when you're not doing anything else and you're just applying a little bit of this on the lid and that's it. I don't know. Oh no, I've made a mess. Do you see how it just kind of looks bad? It just kind of looks wrong. Okay, let me just pat this on. Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna try to save it. Let me quickly just dab a little bit of this shadow on there. And see, now it doesn't look sparkly anymore. This is a pretty eyeshadow color, but once you apply this shade, you can't really see this anymore. My eye's kind of burning a little bit too, to be honest. I don't know if I have sensitivity or what. Doesn't feel really bad. Like, I don't think it's going to get any worse, but yeah, no, my eye is definitely burning. So now that I've layered enough of this eyeshadow, and I do think it's probably best applied with fingers just because I mentioned this one does have a little sparkle and it's a little bit drier. I've layered the entire lid. It looks opaque. You can't see where this lifted the primer underneath. So I saved the eye. The eye looks fine. It actually looks really pretty. But I just don't know if there's a real purpose for this. Like, could I achieve the same look without this? Let's try it. It's just a first impressions review. Those pens are really cool. So I'm going to keep playing around with them and I will find a use for them. But this might not be it. It was kind of the obvious choice, but let's see. Oh, maybe it's not the same. Hold on. I layered it a little bit. Wow, okay. So I see the difference. This grips the eyeshadow. And it looks far more opaque than this. I can keep layering it. Let me do one more layer. No, unfortunately, it just goes on a little bit sheer. It still looks pretty. This would be a really easy everyday eye. But if you want a little bit more intensity with the color, you need something underneath, something to really grip it. I'm gonna lean in so hopefully you can see the difference. I think this looks a little bit more opaque on the lid. I can definitely see a little sheen, a little bit more sparkle, and it's gripped the eyeshadow. This looks a little bit lighter. I'd like to try maybe a Pat McGrath Labs eyeshadow or something that's really meant to be like a true glitter. And I think maybe I have to let it dry down a little bit and then tap on the shadow. The first attempt wasn't perfect, but that's okay. I'm still a fan of it. I just think it looks pretty on the skin. Now I need to find ways to use it so I don't waste my money. I have a feeling this would just eat my foundation if I tried to use it as a highlighter, because that's exactly what happened on the eyelid, but I'm just curious. Oh, that's not bad. But I worked it on my hand a little bit first, that way I didn't just apply a big glob of it. Let it get a little tacky and then dab. Yeah, I can see a little sparkle. But it's pretty. I like that iridescent shine. Yeah, not my favorite on the face. I think maybe the other color would look really nice on the face. To highlight the complexion, I'm going to go into the Revde Camellia Highlighter and I'm going to share this beauty one more time. It gives the most beautiful, glassy, transparent sheen to the skin. It's so pretty. And I like how pale it is because it doesn't create any sort of dark cast when it's not reflecting directly in light. Add a little bit more. With a pencil brush, I'm going into this peach shade down here at the bottom, and I'm going to dust this beneath the lower lash line. I picked up this BK 204 brush, and I am going to very lightly tap in the deep shadow. I want to keep the eye look very light, but I'm going to buff this very close to the lash line on the outer half of the eye, just to tone down that peachiness. I love peach, especially for spring, summer, but it almost has an orange highlighter pastel look. So this is just going to tone it down a bit. And it also kind of ties in this outer V to the lower lash line. Creates a cohesive eye. I'm back with eyeliner and mascara, and now I want to highlight the brow bone and inner corner of the eye, so I'm using the Reve De Camellia. I picked up a little precision brush, and I'm going to pop this right underneath my baby inner wing. And I just did a little one today. It's the tiniest detail, but it makes such a huge difference with the overall makeup. I never skip this step. Slightly larger brush, I'm going to pop this on the brow bone. It's such a natural highlighter, you can barely see this on the brow bone and the inner corner, which is kind of nice because it ties in very softly with the cheek, doesn't look overdone. For the people who are sort of sick of blinding highlighter, I know it's one of those trends that is, I don't want to say dying out. I think people will always use highlighter, but the really bold, beaming off your face highlighted look is starting to fade. I certainly have a blinding highlight right now, but I also have 3 giant lights shining directly on my face, and natural lighting, I don't think I would look nearly this shiny. Now the last step is lips, and I want to show you both options. That way you can see what I mean when I say this Rouge Coco Flash is very sheer, the 168 Halo. So let's try that first. It feels really nice, it just kind of melts. And I do like that light pink sheen, I just think it needs something underneath. But it's very pretty. This is the Rouge Allure Ink 232. I think this is going to look really pretty with the eye look. Oh my gosh. I don't know why I thought it was peach, but it's orange or coral. Whoops. Ooh, this just completely changed the look, didn't it? I'm not usually a huge fan of matte lipsticks, but these Rouge Allure inks remain really comfortable. And once that dries down, if I wanted to, I could probably layer maybe a little bit of that Rouge Coco Flash on top, maybe. This and this go perfectly together. I think that's going to be a really nice, very fun, summery makeup combination. It took a little bit longer to come together, but in the end, I think it did come together, and the overall makeup look turned out really nice. I'm a big fan of these colors. I prefer warmer tones on the eyes. I love a peachy cheek, coral orangey lip with a nice golden tan, luminous skin. It's very beachy, kind of tropical vacation makeup, and it's very fun and flirty. The Revde Camellia Highlighter we already know. I think this is beautiful. Such a pretty highlighter. If you don't need a highlighter this tone, I think you could absolutely skip it because the shade itself is not unique. What makes it so special is the fact that it comes with this gorgeous 3D camellia design on top. And you get the little mini kabuki brush, which somebody pointed out, the full-size kabuki sells for $60 from Chanel. So to get a little mini kabuki, at least they added that extra bonus since it is an $80 highlighter. This eyeshadow palette is so much prettier than I thought it was going to be. I had already planned in my head that I was going to skip the LeBlanc eyeshadow palette because they're usually pinks and purples. I have several from the last few years. It's usually not my favorite launch of the year. In fact, the palette last year, I believe, went on my worst of Chanel list, or products that I wish I had skipped. This is probably going to go on maybe a best of Chanel list. It's still a neutral eyeshadow palette, so I'm certainly not suggesting everybody rush out and purchase this palette, but if you do, I think you will be very surprised. These shades, excuse me, not that one. These shades are very easy to blend. They're really smooth and kind of buttery and creamy. Some of the nicest matte eyeshadows I think Chanel has ever created. And then this little sparkly shade is very pretty. It's a little bit drier, so best applied with fingers. If you tried to use a fluffy brush with that, I don't think it would show up on the eye. So just be careful. It's not a dud, but you just have to know how to apply it. But these I love. These are the colors that I typically use from my larger Pillow Talk palette that I use almost every day. So this would easily be kind of like a plug and play everyday palette. If I wanted to get rid of that Pillow Talk palette and just use this, simple. It would be such an easy switch. So for me, I really like this palette. I'm happy I purchased. Not a regret at all at the moment. The nail polish color is really pretty. This reminds me of Easter. It's very unique, this kind of purpley pink. I love it so much, but it's not very opaque. I did 2 coats today and I can still see the white tips of my nails. And I don't like that. So maybe I'll try a 3rd coat the next time around. I wouldn't say I'm disappointed. I'll certainly still use it, but not the best nail polish I've ever tried. The Stilo Lumiere Regard highlighting pen, I am still torn about these because I don't think I've discovered the perfect way to use them yet. I tried it on the eye. It ended up looking really nice in the end, but it was a little bit of a struggle to apply. Like, I certainly would not suggest this as a quick, easy, everyday eye, unless you're just going to tap a little bit of this on your lid and go. But the texture is a little bit funny because it looks sort of white like a cream, but it feels more like a gel. So I think you have to be really careful where you place this. If you were to use this as a top coat, multi-use highlighting top coat, if I were to apply this on top of an eyeshadow, I just don't think that would work. I think it's probably best used underneath. And I'm not sure how it would work on the face because of that gel base. So I'm not sure. These I still need to play around with. I'm going to try mixing it into my concealer, the subtle shade, not the one with sparkle, and see if it gives maybe a light glow to the face, or maybe use a little bit of this in the areas that you want a little glow and then go on top with your foundation, like more of a touche clot situation. That might be really beautiful. So undecided on these. I think they're really fun and interesting, but they're certainly not essential. And that completes today's review. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it and you found it helpful. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Leave me your comments, questions down below. As always, I will be linking everything mentioned. Everything on my face will be listed down below in the description box for your convenience. And for more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.